In this session, we're going to wrap up our look at WP Supercache, making your site faster. The next tab on our list here is called CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network. We're not going to get too deep into how to set up a CDN in this series, but I wanted to show you what's available in WP Supercache. Basically, you can enable it and then provide some information about where your CDN is. A CDN allows you to keep some parts of your site on a server different from your own, typically things like images and CSS files, etc. Some common services are Amazon CloudFront, Max CDN, and Cloudflare. Cloudflare actually makes a really excellent WordPress plugin. You see these pinpoints on the map. Basically, your site gets mirrored to each of those pinpoints, so that when someone near one of them requests your site, it goes there instead of pulling it from your server. This gets your content out, but greatly reduces load on your own server. Next, let's look at the Contents tab. Here we can regenerate these stats, which say how much data is in your WP cache and how much data is in your WP Supercache. Your WP cache is created by WordPress, but Supercache is created by this plugin. It says we have 1 cached pages, and we can list here that it's this one, and it tells you how old it is in seconds. Then you have the option to delete the entire cache or only expired pages. Next is the Preload button. The Preload button goes through your site as if it were a browser and creates a cache of every page. If you have a very large site, this can be very time consuming, and it might be better to let your end users build the cache for you as things are required. However, if your traffic is low and it's not going to annoy anyone to have a bot going through and clicking everything, this can preload your cache so that humans get your cache faster. I'm going to choose preload mode, which means garbage collection only on legacy cache files. I'm going to preload my tags, categories, and other taxonomies, but I don't want an email every time something happens. So I'm just going to click preload cache now. There, it says scheduled preloading of cache in 10 seconds. I can go somewhere else and come back, and it will be done. Next is the Plugins tab. These are plugins that WP Supercache can help with. There's awaiting moderation for comments, bad behavior for blocking attacks, domain mapping, Jetpack mobile theme, and WP Touch. You can turn these on if you use those plugins. Lastly, there's Debug, and this can help figure out what's going on if things aren't working. I'm going to go back to my preload and see how that's going. It's still working. So let's go to Contents, regenerate cache stats, and now it says I have 6 cached pages, which shows that the preload is working. So now let's go to Debug. I'm going to enable it. I'm going to put in my own IP address. That way, it's not doing the debugging for everyone who comes to the site, only for me. And then optionally display comments at the end of every page like this. Here are some things that we can choose to do if we're really stuck and we can't figure out what's going on. We can check the front page every 5 minutes. We can have it search for some text. We can clear the cache on every error. Or we can email the blog admin when checks are made. I'm going to leave those off and hit save. And now, because I turned on debugging, it tells me that I can look at this file to see the log. So I'll open that in a new tab. And it's not found. That's because it hasn't been created yet by a problem. Let's see if we can create it by going to a page. There. No errors, so no log file. But if there was something going wrong, then I would be able to see this file, and it would list for us what file was having problems being cached and what the error was. I'm going to turn it off now so that it doesn't run forever. Debugging can slow things down a little bit. So that's it for WP Supercache. Other caching plugins have different or more features. W3 Total Cache has quite a few more features, but I tend to prefer to keep functionality small within plugins. I'd rather have more plugins that do single things than one plugin that does many.